There we are. So welcome everybody. My name is Toby Cordeliu. I am the Director of Enrollment Management and Strategic Initiatives for the Masters of Science in Communication program here at Northwestern University. I have been with Northwestern here with the MSC program for the last 5 years, but before that worked at the University of Chicago and Loyola University in admissions and marketing roles as well. And I'm also an alumni of the MSC program. So I graduated back in 2012, so proud MSC alum myself as well, and am excited to be talking with you here for the next half hour or so about the MSC application process, and the materials that we require for admissions decisions. Joining me today is Kaylee Mullins, and I'll let Kaylee introduce herself as well.
Hi there, welcome everybody. My name is Kaylee Mullins. I work with Toby as the Admission and Marketing Coordinator for the program. I am also an alumni of the MSC program. I graduated in 2019. Prior to that, I was working at Northwestern in undergraduate admissions. And so, yeah, it's been kind of a crazy first year here, but I'm really excited to see all of you guys here today and interested in the program and happy to answer any questions.
So Kaylee and I are two perfect examples of if you come to the MSC program and do a really great job, we will hire you. And then you can come work for the MSC program. So I wanted to, let's share my screen here as we move through some slides. Great. Everybody sees that all right? How's that look, Kaylee? Okay? All right. So today, the agenda here is that I want to talk a little bit about the materials that we ask for in submitting an application to the MSC program, how each specific material, how each piece of the application is used. Then kind of wrapping up overall with kind of this understanding of the evaluation of the application itself. What is it that we're looking for? How are we kind of measuring or evaluating the applications that come in, and then of course the deadlines as they come up as well. So like I said before, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit those in the chat. Kaylee, I can't see the chat, so feel free to interrupt me if need be, and we will keep moving. So the required materials, the first thing that we ask for is a professional resume. Fairly standard in terms of admissions materials for graduate school. A professional resume or a resume that's submitted to the MSC program is going to have a number of different pieces. These are fairly traditional, right? I don't think that this is too shocking to anybody. We're going to ask a resume is going to have contact information on it. It's going to have your professional experience or background. We get a wide range of experience levels of people applying to the program, right? So some people are right out of undergrad and some people have been in their careers for 20, 30 plus years. And so that professional experience piece, the range is equally as wide. And so where you've worked professionally or any internships or experience that you have in that matter, anything that you think is going to help us understand a little bit more about how you're going to be able to add some value, what unique perspectives you're going to be able to share through your professional experience is what we're looking for in a resume. A professional resume is going to have an education section. These last four sections have asterisks next to them. They are optional, but have become common. It's a lot of personal preference there in terms of whether or not you would have a summary or objective on your resume, listing any awards or achievements on your resume, volunteer work, hobbies, interests, those types of things all. The resume provides kind of a snapshot more than anything of your professional background to date, right? And so this is the place that we're going to get probably the best idea of just kind of the steps that you've had in your career. If you're showing some progression, advancement, those types of things, the moves that you've made professionally, the resume is going to help the admissions committee understand a little bit more about that trajectory, if that makes sense. The next piece of the application is our statement of purpose, commonly called our application essays. And I wanted to briefly, put these up on the screen here for you. So the first essay prompt says, why are you applying specifically to the MSc program at Northwestern University? And how do you hope to add value to the MSc experience of your classmates? And then we have some parameters for how long we want that to be, 2 pages, double-spaced 12-point font. So you're probably clever enough to understand that this is really 2 questions in 1 prompt, right? Why are you specifically applying to the program, and how do you hope to add value to the MSc experience? Essays are a little bit tricky, right? And I think that it's easy to kind of pore over these and spend a little time trying to figure out exactly what you want to say. I think the important part of that is figuring out what you want to say and not necessarily trying to guess what we want to hear, if that makes sense, right? And so the essays that resonate, I believe, the most with the admissions committee are essays that tell stories about you, right? Essays that help us understand more about who you are, where you're from, where your passions lie, what you're committed to, as opposed to scouring our website and using our own language to tell us what you think of us. So my advice, my encouragement when putting these essays together is to think about experiences in your life and what it is that's truly driving you to consider not only graduate school, but specifically this program. What is it about the MSc program that you believe connects you? Can you draw a straight line between your passions and your hopes for your future professionally and personally, and what the MSc program provides? And then the second part of this essay is, how does your experience or personality or culture or where you come from, how is that going to add value to your classmates, right? And so the MSc program is a highly collaborative experience. We bring in about 70 students each year to the custom program, about 25 or 30 each year to the hybrid program, and there is a ton of interaction. And the goal for the admissions team, the admissions committee, is to put together diverse groups of people, right? So that the more opinions, the more experiences, the more viewpoints we have present, the more rich the conversations, and the more everybody's going to be able to learn and grow. So how do you fit, right? What puzzle piece kind of are you is a way to go about to approach the creation of this first essay. The second prompt is to our optional essay. So this isn't required, but we just want to provide you with an opportunity to tell us anything about you that you feel like you haven't had an opportunity to tell us so far. So it reads, is there anything else that you would like to share with the admissions committee? Please feel free to submit an optional essay. 1 page, double-spaced, 12-point font. This, the range of content in terms of optional essays is pretty broad. So some applicants will take this as an opportunity to maybe explain a semester worth of bad grades in undergrad, or talk in a little more detail about volunteer work that they do, or some other passions. So like I said before, this optional essay, not required. I would guess that about 1/3 to 40% of our applicants submit an optional essay. And like I said before, it's just a chance for you to tell us a story, tell us about things that you think are necessary to kind of position yourself, or what it is that you're trying to tell, what story it is that you're trying to tell that you haven't had a chance someplace else to in the application. So the optional essay is exactly that, optional. What's the next piece? We ask for 2 recommendations. The recommendation is a little bit unique, I think, in the MSc program, how we do it. So in the application, when you get to the recommendation section of the application, we're going to ask you to provide us with the names and email addresses of the 2 people that you want to submit recommendations for you. Once you click save on that section of the application, that automatically triggers an email to those people. And that email is going to give them a unique URL, right? So they'll click on that link, and then we ask them to rank you on a set of competencies and to answer a couple short answer questions. The reason we do it this way is twofold. First, we know that the people that are writing recommendations for you are busy people, and we want to make this as painless and quick and easy as possible. And second, this way they don't have to come up with a letter from scratch and guess what it is that we want to hear. We're going to ask them specifically about things that we think are important to success and fit within the MSc program here at Northwestern. And so we're nothing if not transparent. This is the list of competencies that we ask your recommenders to rank you on, right? And so they will all get this list in kind of a scale of 1 to 6, and they will submit those to us. So you can kind of look through this and get an idea of the competencies that we think are important and that we think lay a foundation for success and engagement within the MSc program. But like I said, this is the list that your recommenders will see. And these are the questions that we ask. So first, please feel free to comment on the ratings you have assigned. Maybe if they give you a low rank on one or the other, or if there's some that don't necessarily apply, they have an opportunity to explain a little of that. Please assess the applicant's overall communication skills. Probably not a surprise that the Master's of Science in Communication program is asking about communication. And where do you think the applicant has the most opportunity for growth or improvement? And last but not least, is there anything else that you would like to share with us about the applicant that will aid our evaluation? My advice, again, with recommenders is to spend a little bit of time with these people before you put their names in the application, right? Talk to them about why you're applying to grad school, what your goals are, how you're hoping to leverage your skills and experience in your application. We love to see consistency between your message and a recommender's message, right? If you talk to us about how you're incredibly hardworking and go the extra mile and put in extra effort, and that is a consistent theme through the recommendations as well, then it's likely true, right? It's likely it becomes that much more believable. And so having conversations with your recommenders about this process, what it is you're trying to accomplish, what you want to get out of it, and like I said, how you're hoping to present yourself is I think a good idea. I think the second part of that is there are a lot of times where your recommender might have some ideas for you as well. You're hoping to position yourself in a certain way, and they might be able to help you expand on those ideas and talk in even more detail about what it is that they believe you're best at and how they think you might want to position that or share that with the admissions committee. So that's it for the recommenders. We asked for academic transcripts, and so the academic transcripts piece to kind of, it's not at all mysterious. We ask for academic transcripts from any place that has awarded you a degree. So if you have received a degree from any institution, we require those academic transcripts to be submitted as part of your application. We can use unofficial academic transcripts as part of the application process. And so what that means is oftentimes you can, print off copies or even take screenshots of the grades that you receive from these institutions, where the official transcripts might take a little bit longer to process and get to our offices. So like I said, the unofficial transcripts are able to be used for admissions purposes. Once you're admitted, and once you decide that you are going to attend the program, then we request the official transcripts. And the official transcripts, a lot of schools and universities do this differently. Some of them will mail us physical copies of your transcripts, and so that they come to us in a sealed envelope without a middleman. And others can submit them officially electronically directly to us as well. But again, that's just kind of further down the road. So the unofficial transcripts are acceptable for the admissions piece. All right. How are we using these transcripts? I think it might be a little bit obvious. We want to see how you performed in school. The caveat here that I will add is that there's probably a sliding scale in terms of recency and applicability, if that makes sense. So if you are 2 years out of college, then your grades are probably going to weigh a little bit more heavily than if you are 20 years out of college, right? The admissions committee isn't going to be too concerned about a C that you got in biology 22 years ago. It's probably not a great representation of what it is that you're going to be able to do and perform and accomplish in the program. However, if you're, like I said, closer to having graduated from college, it's a probably pretty decent representation of what you're going to be able to do academically, and a reflection of study habits and those types of things. And so we like to see, obviously, good grades. We're looking at, we are also looking at kind of specific classes, right? It's not just one overall GPA. We are going to take a look at specific classes that might pertain to the MSC program, including communication, marketing, advertising, psychology, social science, those types of things, that are going to represent a little bit more of the type of learning and types of disciplines that you will study in the MSC program. And if your grade point average is a little bit lower, what we do like to see, at least in that case, is a positive trajectory, right? Maybe you had a rough first year, but things improved as you moved along. And like I said before, if there are some gaps or some concerns in the academic history, that optional essay is a terrific opportunity for you to help us understand a little bit more of why that might be. And I strongly encourage you to address that in the optional essay if such gaps or kind of low points exist. All right. Just a couple other pieces here. We are going to conduct an admissions interview. Your admissions interview is going to be with me or Kaylee or our faculty director, Professor Randy Iden. One of the three of us will conduct the admissions interview with you. The admissions interview is largely behavioral. All behavioral interview questions start with kind of some version of tell me about a time. We're going to ask you to tell us some stories. The goals of the admissions interview is to get to know you better, right? To learn more about why you're interested in the program, what you hope to contribute, those types of things. We're not here to try to trick you or stump you or make you uncomfortable in any way. It's just a conversation to help us learn, like I said, a little bit more about what puzzle piece you are. Diving a little more deeply into any topics that you may write about in your essay, any specific experiences that you've had that we can see on your resume, to help us find some connections between what it is that you have done in the past and what you're going to be able to contribute and how you're going to be able to add value to the program while you're a student. Like it says here, some fairly traditional interview, use examples. Like I said before, rather than say, I'm a really hard worker, tell us some stories about times that you did extra stuff, right? That you went above and beyond. Using examples to back up any claims that you're kind of making about yourself goes a really long way. Telling stories that humanizes a person, right? Like I said, instead of I'm a hard worker, telling stories about times that you've been recognized for that or specific examples of I can tell you one of the conversation pieces that comes up in the interviews is conflict management, right? And so think about a story where you have, been in a disagreement with a coworker on a team that was a little bit dysfunctional. What role did you play? And what's the story that you have ready to go and ready to tell for those types of examples? And then last but not least, the last interview question I ask every single person is, what do you hope to share with your classmates? What do you hope your classmates learn from you? How do you hope to add value to their experience? And I think that there are a lot of different ways to go with this, right? I think that a lot of times people think that their professional experience is the value add that we're looking for. If your professional experience is going to add value to the class, absolutely, we want to talk about that. But also there are personality traits and cultural backgrounds that are unique to every individual. And if you're the person that's a social butterfly and is great at bringing people together, then that's a really great piece. And that's a really great person to have in the program. If you like to challenge the status quo and don't have trouble pushing back to seniors above you, then that's a great person to have in the program as well. So how you're going to add value doesn't only come in the form of your professional experience. It's your personality as well. And so those are just some things to consider when thinking about and when preparing for the interview and for the rest of this application in general. What else? The last piece here is that is the piece that we don't need. We do not require any standardized tests, no GRE or GMAT for the MSc program. We could probably host a whole webinar on why that is, but suffice to say, the GRE or GMAT or other standardized tests have not necessarily been predictors of success and don't necessarily measure the things that we think are required for success in the MSc program. And so it's just one barrier that we are happy to remove in terms of submitting applications for us. So those are all the materials that we require. The next piece is just a snapshot here of the process, right? So these are the steps. This is the order that everything happens in. First, you start an application, which if you haven't already, I'm sure you will by the end of the day today. And so you'll start an application, fill out all the materials, submit all the materials, submit the application. A point of clarification for this submission piece, you can click submit on the application before your recommendations have been submitted, right? So we can continue to kind of, work with you and partner with you as the application moves forward. So go ahead, click submit on the application once you have submitted all of the pieces that are under your control. Once you've submitted your application and once we've received all of your materials, then you'll be invited to interview. We'll schedule the interview. That will happen. After the interview, generally within a couple weeks, you receive an admission decision. So we are on what we call kind of rolling admission. So decisions are made as applications are completed. You'll receive your admission decision via email and then be invited to submit a tuition deposit, which secures your seat in the program. And is basically, it's $500. It's added, it's non-refundable, and it's added to your first year's. It goes towards your first quarter's tuition payment. And it is, like I said, just you saying, yes, I promise I'm going to come to this program. And then at orientation, you don't register or enroll in classes until after orientation for the program. So those are the steps, that process from starting an application to actually starting classes. Finally here, what is it overall that we're trying to measure? I think you've probably got a little bit of a sense of what that is along the way here. There are three kind of questions I think that the admissions committee is kind of asking at all times. The first is, can you do the work, right? So like I said before, we're using your academic history, your professional background to help us understand your ability to manage kind of the academic rigor of the MSc program. The second question is important. Are your goals consistent with our program? Basically, do you know what you're getting into, right? Do you understand who we are and what we're able to provide for you? And can you draw a straight line again between what it is that you want to do with this degree, what your hopes and dreams and goals in attending graduate school are, and the experience we provide? How do you hope specifically for the content, the material, the learning themes in the MSc program to help you accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish? And then last but not least, I think I've said add value 20 times in the last 15 minutes. How are you going to add value to your classmates' experience? This diversity is really important to us. Diversity in terms of professional background, academic background, cultural background, personalities. None of us live or work in homogenous environments anymore, and graduate school should be a representation of that as well. And so whatever we can do to help expand your critical thinking skills and your worldview in general through the lens of communication, we want to do that. And that starts with us putting the right people in the classroom with you. And so how are you going to add value? What unique traits, attributes, characteristics, skill sets, experiences are you going to bring is really, really important to us. That is kind of it for the what do we look for. Here's a much busier looking slide than I remember it being, but these are the deadlines. So we have we still have time for anybody that's interested in starting the program this January. Our final deadline for applying in January is December 1st. But also then we have this list of deadlines for applications for next fall as well. The deadlines are a little bit, so I just said we're rolling admission and then I showed you slides with deadlines. It's a little bit of a hybrid, right? These deadlines for you are more than anything to help you put a big red X on your calendar and give you a date to shoot for. If you submit your application before any of these deadlines, it goes to review. We don't pool the applications and kind of evaluate them against each other. Applications are evaluated on their own as they come in. The MSC program has in the past filled up, and so it is to your advantage to apply sooner in the process than later. But that said, like I said, once your application is complete, it goes to review. Within a couple of weeks of that interview, you should have an admission decision from us. If you're on this webinar and thinking about starting next fall, then that June 14th deadline should not be on your radar in any way, shape, or form. But if you have any questions about the process, obviously, or anything moving forward, please feel free to reach out to us. Those are the deadlines. And I think that's it. So now I would like to go ahead and open it up for questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now so that I can get into the chat and see if anybody has any questions for me as we move forward. What do you want to know? Has the presentation been so comprehensive that there are no questions? That's perfectly fine too.
Hi, Toby. This is Rich Kors. I was
Hi,
wondering, is it possible to see the competencies slide one more time that the recommenders will be rating you on?
Absolutely, no problem.
Thanks.
Maybe. There we go. There it is. Yeah, so like I said before, this is a list that's been put together as a reflection of some of the attributes that we believe are important for success in the MSc program. And this is what we're going to ask the recommenders to rank you on. Again, it's a scale of 1 to 6 that they will be choosing for you.
Thank you.
Sure. Somebody asks about the format of the program and how it's going to be presented in January. So the official line right now is that we don't know what the winter quarter is going to look like yet. The unofficial line is it's going to start online. So the program, the winter quarter, which starts in January, so anybody starting in January, those classes are going to be virtual. And we have the way that they're delivered right now is that you're going to have a morning class, a core class on Saturday morning. That's going to be, the class is called Change Management. It's with Professor Mike Roloff. And it is, he's going to be sharing pieces of change management lectures for you to view throughout the week. And then the class time on Saturday will largely be spent in discussion with him about the topics that he shared with you through the week. It's a tremendous course, but it is going to be virtual. And then there'll be 2 elective options for you to choose from as well, with different formats as well. But what we've committed to, so there's kind of 2 things at work here in terms of format and delivery. Anybody starting the program in January, we have committed to delivering a fully online experience for the year, for the whole program, should you choose to stay online. If and when we are able to be back in person again and meet in person on Saturdays, you would have the option of joining the in-person courses or staying online. And so again, anybody starting in January would be able to participate fully online for the whole year, or like I said, once we get back going in person, join there as well. What else? Somebody asked to please clarify the difference between the custom and hybrid options. I'm going to do this briefly, and then I think that I'll also refer you to a much longer webinar that does this in a lot more detail. And I think, Kaylee, you might be able to find the link to that one if it still exists up on our website for me. But the custom and hybrid options, first I want to start with what's the same. It's the same degree, it's the same faculty, it's the same learning themes. The custom delivery model, the custom comes from your options with electives, right? You're able to customize your experience to some degree. So you're going to take 4 core courses with all of your classmates, and then you're also going to take 4 elective courses, 1 each quarter, where you can kind of shape a little bit of your experience in the program. Traditionally, that happens on Saturdays, right? So those courses are pre-COVID. Courses would be all day Saturday. You'd have your core course in the morning, your elective course in the afternoon. That's adjusted a little bit here. We're still meeting on Saturday mornings for the core course. The elective courses are delivered at different times. And so you have some options to choose from there. The custom students, the range of experience is incredibly wide. We bring in about 70 students. I'm blanking now. I know the average age hovers around 28, but the range is about 35 years. I think 22 to 58 was the age range in the custom students this year. So a really wide and diverse group of students there. The hybrid students are traditionally more experienced. So the students in the hybrid program it's an average age of about 45. And I think the youngest students we've had in the hybrid program is probably 29, and then going up to students in their 60s. The hybrid students, even again, before pre-COVID, was delivered almost all virtually. And then you would come to class or come to Evanston to campus for 4 sessions a year, 4 in-residence sessions that were spread throughout the program. So that's the kind of, I don't know, bare bones of the differences between those 2 programs. And it looks like we've got Kaylee was able to submit a link there that'll help you dive a little bit more deeply. Let's see, somebody asks, I mentioned that it can fill up. If that's the case for spring, can the application be considered for fall as well? So just to be clear, our start times are January and September. I don't anticipate filling up for the January start, and so it's probably not a consideration. Should something crazy happen and we fill up, then yes, you would be offered a spot for the future intake. But I don't anticipate that happening. Matt asks, what does the MSc degree offer in and of itself apart from academically? Great question. In, I think, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, we're going to have a presentation from our assistant director, Anne-Marie Adams, talking specifically about co-curricular opportunities. And so these are all of the, I call them fringe benefits that come with the program, right? And so anything that happens outside of the class. And so that's everything from social gatherings to alumni presentations and career well, next week is a session that's all about career services, and then all of the other pieces. So we have different kind of workshops and seminars spread throughout the entire experience on topics ranging from design, information design, to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and everything in between. And so it's a really pretty broad range. And then, like I said, the social pieces as well. We're getting ready to launch a kind of Toastmasters-like public speaking co-curricular, so that just to provide anybody who's interested opportunities to practice public speaking and getting some feedback from staff and faculty. So it's there are a lot of different things involved, and hopefully can tune in a couple weeks to hear about that in more detail as well. I think that we're going to end with one of these last questions here from Maddie. So Maddie asks, thank you for sharing. She says, thank you for sharing this. would each of you, Toby and Kaylee, mind sharing a little bit about your personal experience in the program? What'd you like the most? What was challenging? I'm going to put Kaylee on the spot and have her go first. Kaylee, you
Sure.
just graduated in 2019, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you mind sharing, helping Maddie out a little bit here?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, we talk about this a lot in the program. You'll hear it over and over again, but I was in the custom leadership program. And so you say what you learn on Saturday, you can apply on Monday morning. And that was definitely true. I think I'd heard that, but wasn't really expecting how impactful that would be. That there were a lot of changes going on in my office where I was working at the time. And I think that going through the program at the same time was really beneficial because I could understand, change management and how people were interacting and facing these problems and challenges that we were all going through with a different perspective. And so I think that was, there were a lot of beneficial parts of it, but that was probably the most impactful. And then I think challenging was just kind of how much I was kind of pushed to collaborate with others, where I'd been kind of used to working more independently. And I think, as a communication, obviously, the program kind of forced you to look at things from a lot of different people's perspectives, and people in a lot of different industries were maybe facing different problems, but kind of looking at those from different perspectives. So in my program, there was people who were in law and healthcare and engineering, and I was working in higher education. And so kind of seeing how those similar problems of change management were being faced in all those different types of industries was challenging, but also very beneficial to me.
I like it. And this is a great example. I bet if you ask 50 MSC alumni what they got out of the program or what was challenging for them, you get 50 different answers. And that speaks again to this kind of, diversity that we're striving for and putting people together. For me, the challenging piece was, so I started the program when I was in my mid 30s, and my son was born 2 weeks before orientation. So I don't know, don't do that, I guess, is my advice there. But in general, I think that, there's this time management piece that's important. And everybody has busy professional lives and busy personal lives and social lives. And now we're adding a pretty big bucket of school to that. And so the time management becomes important. And I think the way to kind of approach that and understand how to tackle it is making sure that you have buy-in from the people around you for taking on this program, making sure that your colleagues and coworkers and friends and family know that for the next year, you might be a little less responsive or available than you have been in the past. And those are fair trade-offs. That said, as I was saying before, it's a highly collaborative experience. And there are going to be some weeks when you're swamped at work or you have an important social or family engagement to participate in. And you say to your classmates, guys, I didn't get to the case this week. Can you help me out? And your friends help you out. And then you return the favor when you get the chance. And so, like I said, it is kind of a give and take. But the time management piece was challenging for me. A challenge, I guess, to be aware of. What did you like the most? I wasn't expecting, I graduated 8 years ago and I still talk to classmates every week. I wasn't expecting the friendships and the relationships that I've got out of the program to be as long lasting and as deep as they are. Right. And so, I mean, I have classmates get married and have babies, and we're all part of each other's lives. And that extends to the faculty as well. So the knowledge that I've gained has been tremendous and provided me with new opportunities to advance my career. I guess one fast story with that. So about a year after I graduated, I got a promotion at work where I was going to be managing people who had previously been peers, right? And so this kind of awkward transition from we're all on the same page and now I'm your boss. And I was kind of nervous about it, but excited for the opportunity. And I reached out to Mike Roloff, who will be your change management professor if you start in January. And I said, I don't know if you remember me, I graduated a year ago. This is what's happening in my world. Any advice, anything that you can point me towards reading or anything like that? And within 24 hours, I get this 3-page email back from him with his own personal advice, a couple things to check out, and phone number, and call me and let me know how it goes. And if you want to talk through any of this. And that, I mean, it was worth the whole experience right there, right? Just having access to that partner, right? To that person and their kind of expertise, and just, it helps breed a little bit of confidence as well as you move through your career too. So yeah, so the time management piece can be a challenge and something to be aware of, but the people that you're going to be adding to your network, your classmates and the faculty, and all of the alumni beyond are certainly worth the time and effort of the program. So now I'm rambling. We're about 10 minutes over at least. I wanted to say thank you very much to everybody for joining today. Thank you, Kaylee, for helping facilitate. Next week's session, same time, same place. We're going to be talking about career services. So we're one of very few communication graduate programs to offer career services to our students. And so you get a chance to chat with Pat Messina, who runs the MSC Career Services, and learn more about kind of the opportunities that we provide for you in that space and how to leverage your experience to move on to bigger and better things. So hopefully you can join us again next week. And thank you all, everybody, for joining. I'll let you go. Have a great afternoon.